Greetings to everyone. In this video, we are going to learn vocabulary for the prose forgetting through a method called cluster mapping, which means mapping a group of words to one main idea, which is called cluster mapping. The first word is vintage, wine with good quality. Vintage, wine with good quality. If one takes wine, his brain is filled with fear, F-E-A-R. The first word F is fallible, making mistakes. Fallible, making mistakes. The second letter is E, eccentric, act strangely. E stands for eccentric, one who acts strangely. The next letter A stands for abstracted, which means a lack concentration. Abstracted, which means lack concentration. The fourth letter R stands for reluctant, which means unwilling. Reluctant, unwilling. Now we have learned 4 synonyms from one single word, fear. Secondly, IQ decreases in his brain. IQD. The first letter I stands for indignant, which means very angry. Indignant, very angry. The second letter Q stands for quivering, which means shivering. Quivering, which means shivering. The third letter D stands for delinquent, which means a person involved in wrongdoing. Delinquent, a person involved in wrongdoing. Therefore, we learn 3 synonyms from one word, IQD. Finally, the brain voids power mode. VPM, which means the brain voids power mode. No action takes place. VPM. The letter V stands for vexation, which means irritation. Vexation, which means irritation. The second letter P stands for prosaic, which means dull. Prosaic, the dull. The brain is so dull. Prosaic, which means dull. The letter M stands for mediocre, which means not very good. Again, the brain does not be good. That is mediocre, not very good. If one takes vintage, his brain is filled with fear. The brain's IQ level decreases and it voids power mode. Therefore, from one concept we learn 10 synonyms, which is called cluster mapping. The second idea is antipathy, strong dislike. Antipathy, strong dislike to vintage. If one dislikes vintage, his brain is safe, S-A-F-E. The letter S stands for sieve, which means filter. The brain filters which is good and bad. The next letter A stands for audacious, which means bold. Audacious, bold. The third letter is F. Fortunes, which means huge money. Fortunes, huge money. The fourth letter E stands for exploits, which means heroic actions. Exploits, heroic action. Now let us move on to classroom activity. Vintage, which means wine with good quality. If one takes vintage, his brain is filled with fear. F-E-A-R stands for fallible, making mistakes. Eccentric, act strangely. Abstracted, lack concentration. Reluctant, unwilling. Secondly, if one takes vintage, his IQ level decreases. I stands for indignant, very angry. Quivering, shivering. Delinquent, involved in wrongdoing. Thirdly, if one takes vintage, his brain voids power mode. VPM, which means voids power mode. V stands for vexation, irritation. Prosaic, dull. mediocre, not very good. Therefore, we are conversing 10 synonyms into one concept. Secondly, antipathy, which means strong dislike. If one has a strong dislike to vintage, his brain is totally safe. SAFE, safe. S stands for sieve, filter, which means the brain filters good and bad. Next, A for audacious, bold. The person is very bold to do anything. Thirdly, F for fortune, which means huge money. A person who doesn't take vintage can earn more money. That is fortune's huge money. Finally, E stands for exploits, heroic deeds. A person can do any sort of action, heroic action in their life. Hence, we learn 16 synonyms for the lesson forgetting through a mapping called cluster mapping. I hope now you have learnt 16 synonyms for the prose forgetting through a method called cluster mapping. A group of words to a one main idea. Vintage, wine with good quality. If one takes vintage, his brain is filled with fear, his IQ level decreases and voids power mode. If one does not take a vintage, one who have a strong dislike, his brain is safe. Now you can make your students to copy it and making them to recite the 16 synonyms. Thank you so much.